How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Today we are going to go through a number of my favorite meditations from Marcus Aurelius. It's a book that I have, and it contains his meditations, those of Seneca, and I forget the last one. I have only so far read a little more than half of the meditations from Marcus. And I guess the common denominator amongst the three, Epictetus is the third. The common denominator is that they are all rooted in Stoic philosophy. And I guess if I had to describe Stoicism, I would say that it's erring more toward the stance that retaliation isn't necessary in a lot of circumstances, and that retaliation does more harm than good in regard to one's own peace of mind. I think an example that comes to mind is a lot of people use Amazon Prime to order convenient delivery of pretty much anything and everything you can think of. And say you order a book on Amazon. You aren't going to a bookstore. You're ordering it. It's coming from some fulfillment warehouse where the book is selected, packaged by some entity, human or robot, who knows at this point, and it is packed up into a box or a satchel of some sort and shipped to your door, and you get that book. You open the package, and the corner of the book is bent, or one of the pages is bent. And I guess a retaliation that I'm sure some people would take is they would return the book or ask for a credit or have a new one shipped. And they would all do this in the name of being satisfied and receiving an item that has no signs of wear in quote-unquote new condition. Because they paid for it. So the company should remedy the problem, is what they're thinking in their mind. But I guess what Stoicism says is that in order for that to be the case, all of the resources of having the book shipped back to the store and the resources of the new one being shipped, it's I don't know. I mean, it could almost translate to, in a very direct way, not being a whiny bitch about small things. I guess that's one way to describe Stoic philosophy. And I think one thing I've gathered, a theme that I've gathered so far from Marcus's writings, are that the most important thing that you can focus on is how you carry yourself as an individual, regardless of what's going on around you. There's a lot of talk of chaos, and there's a lot of chaos going on around us. And Stoicism would urge one to pay attention to carrying themselves in a caring and respectful manner when the case may be that there is a big lack of respect and care in the world around us. And I think that rings true. I think that by no means is Stoic philosophy a cure-all. And I will say that because my belief in general is that there's no such thing as an overarching cure-all to life's problems. I believe that life's problems evolve with life as it evolves, and due to that, the solutions evolve as well. So a solution of yesteryear may no longer apply to today. So it is a beautiful day. Going to set up shop. Basking in the autumn sunshine. It's quite beautiful. They made this one out of like leather, faux leather, like stamped. It's nice. It's one of these Barnes and Noble specials. All right, so I wonder if it would be possible to I guess I could go through them with the focus on the book and not on me. Because usually my hands are all white from rock climbing earlier. Let's see. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to pull some of my favorites from what I've read so far. Let's see if I can find any pages. All right, this one's a good one. The start to book 2. Begin the morning by saying to thyself, I shall meet with the busybody, the ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, unsocial. All these things happen to them by reason of their ignorance of what is good and evil. But I, who have seen the nature of the good that is beautiful, and of the bad that is ugly, and the nature of him who does wrong, that is akin to me, not only of the same blood or seed, but that it participates in the same intelligence and the same portion of the divinity. I can neither be injured by any of them, for no one can fix on me what is ugly, nor can I be angry with my kinsman nor hate him. For we are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth. To act against one another, then, is contrary to nature, and it is acting against one another to be vexed and to turn away. I think the way that I interpret this one is, instead of lashing out because someone upsets you or exhibits arrogance, or they betray you, instead of lashing out and criticizing, I think there's critiquing and there's criticizing. I think that, you can critique someone's behavior in a certain way where you're not coming at them from a standpoint which shows that you despise them or that you're disgusted with them. I think what it's saying is that it's important to seek understanding when something goes wrong, especially when caused by another. Seek understanding, if possible, and you can work together. I think it's up to the individual to determine how much they want to how much grace you want to give a person, but I think this is something that takes courage. Let's find another one. Let's see, maybe I can set this up a little more reasonably. All right. This is a good one. Whatever this is that I am, it is a little flesh and breath, and the ruling part. Throw away thy books, no longer distract thyself, it is not allowed. But as if thou wast now dying, despise the flesh, it is blood and bones and network, a contexture of nerves, veins, and arteries. See the breath also, what kind of a thing it is. Air, and not always the same, but every moment sent out and again sucked in. The third, then, is the ruling part. Consider thus, thou art an old man, no longer let this be a slave, no longer be pulled by the strings like a puppet to unsocial movements, no longer be either dissatisfied with thy present lot or shrink from the future. I'll just go through and read some good ones that I find. Remember how long thou hast been putting off these things, and how often thou hast received an opportunity from the gods, and yet dost not use it. The time is now, is what I read that as. Do the things external which fall upon thee distract thee? Give thyself time to learn something new and good, and cease to be whirled around. But then thou must also avoid being carried about the other way, for those two are triflers who have wearied themselves in life by their activity, and yet have no object to which to direct every movement, and in a word, all their thoughts. Yeah, that screams distraction to me. Do the things external which fall upon thee distract thee. We all carry a phone with us all the time. Through not observing what is in the mind of another, a man has seldom been seen to be unhappy. But those who do not observe the movements of their own minds must of necessity be unhappy. This is a good one, but it's long. Do not waste the remainder of thy life in thoughts about others, when thou dost not refer thy thoughts to some object of common utility, for thou losest the opportunity of doing something else when thou hast such thoughts as these. What is such a person doing, and why? And what is he saying? And what is he thinking of? And what is he contriving? And whatever else of the kind makes us wander away from the observation of our own ruling power. We ought then to check in the series of our thoughts everything that is without a purpose and useless, but most of all, the over-curious feeling and the malignant, the malignant. And a man should use himself to think of those things only about which, if one should suddenly ask, what hast thou now in thy thoughts? With perfect openness thou mightest immediately answer, this or that. So from thy words it should be plain that everything in thee is simple and benevolent, and such as befits a social animal, and one that cares not for thoughts about pleasure or sensual enjoyments at all, nor has any rivalry or envy or suspicion, or anything else for which thou wouldst blush if thou shouldst say that thou hadst it in thy mind. For the man who is such and no longer delays being among the number of the best is like a priest and minister of the gods, using too the deity which is planted within him, which makes the man uncontaminated by pleasure, unharmed by pain, untouched by any insult, feeling no wrong, a fighter in the noblest fight, one who cannot be overpowered by any passion, dyed deep with justice, accepting with all his soul everything which happens and is assigned to him as his portion, and not often, nor yet without great necessity, and for the general interest, imagining what another says or does or thinks. For it is only what belongs to himself that he makes the matter for his activity, and he constantly thinks of that which is allotted to himself out of the sum total of things, and he makes his own acts fair, and he is persuaded that his own portion is good. For the lot which is assigned to each man is carried along with him and carries him along with it. And he remembers also that every rational animal is his kinsman, and that to care for all men is according to man's nature, and a man should hold on to the opinion not of all, but of those only who confessedly live according to nature. But as to those who live not so, he always bears in mind what kind of men they are, both at home and from home, both by night and by day, and what they are, and with what men they live an impure life. Accordingly, he does not value at all the praise which comes from such men, since they are not even satisfied with themselves. Reverence the faculty which produces opinion. And I wrote in, and belief. They know not how many things are signified by the words stealing, sowing, buying, keeping quiet, seeing what ought to be done, for this is not affected by the eyes, but by another kind of vision. I love that one. That one is basically saying, in other words, just pay attention to symbol. You can't see, like, symbols are not seen with the eyes. They're seen with perception. So they're seen with the third eye, if you will. One of the bigger themes amongst all of these entries is a version of praising men and instead praising God. Worship no man. Worship God. And I guess in a way, this gets into something that I've written about pretty extensively. I think it'll go into the book. But it's about being a leader or a follower. And I think to be someone who follows a leader, maybe I don't have a problem with following someone who I can tell follows God. For example, someone who I think is in tune with seeking a connection with God or a relationship with God. And I think the psychology and philosophies kind of developed and lived by Carl Jung were ones that were intentioned to develop relationships with the divine, with God. So, in my life, I look up to the man, and I look up to others who follow God. And I think that it becomes apparent by their actions that they do this. but I by no means worship these people, because they are but a product of God, as I am. I think I'm more likely to look up to people who I see as those who seem to have a better grip of understanding the gift of life which has been given to all of us. I think they're people that don't so much take it for granted. And a lot of this stuff, a lot of these statements are like not obvious, but like this one, for example, take away thy opinion, and then there is taken away the complaint. As in, I have been harmed, take away the complaint. I have been harmed, and the harm is taken away. Okay. Like, yeah, that's a lot easier said than done, I guess. Say the complaint is that you have been assaulted. Like, you can take away the complaint of, I have been assaulted, yet maybe the harm is physical or psychological. I think what this refers to is remove your opinion in connection to being right. As in, if you think there's a right way to do something, don't internalize something that another does as having been harmed if it's solely because you feel that they did it the wrong way. There's a lot of support for appreciation of reason in this book. Within 10 days thou wilt seem a god to those to whom thou art now a beast and an ape, if thou wilt return to thy principles and the worship of reason. And I wrote, worship of reason sounds like science. And I think that science and religion tie to each other more than people tend to think. Because I think that while we can distinguish patterns and statistics and data from scientific study and evidence, we still can't get to the bottom of anything because we haven't gotten to the bottom of anything. So it's like everything in this life is rooted in the unknown and in faith. Do not be whirled about. That's what was said in the distraction one. But in every movement, have respect to justice, and on the occasion of every impression, maintain the faculty of comprehension or understanding. And I wrote in attempted comprehension. Maintain the faculty of attempted comprehension. Because I think a lot of the times in order to understand, you have to try. Like, it doesn't come immediately. Examine men's ruling principles. even those of the wise, what kind of things they avoid and what kind they pursue. There's a lot of like cause and effect, butterfly effect sort of stuff in this. Think continually how many physicians are dead after often contracting their eyebrows over the sick. As in the doctor who heals dies. Pass then through this little space of time comfortably to nature, and end thy journey in content, just as an olive falls off when it is ripe, blessing nature who produced it and thanking the tree on which it grew. There's a lot of good stuff in here. The best way of avenging thyself is not to become like the wrongdoer. As in, don't fight fire with fire. Don't use another person's wrongdoing as an excuse to do the same wrong. Take pleasure in one thing and rest in it, in passing from one social act to another social act, thinking of God. If any man is able to convince me and show me that I do not think or act right, I will gladly change. For I seek the truth by which no man was ever injured, but he is injured who abides in his error and ignorance. There are so many good ones. That's the funny thing about wisdom, is that wisdom is sometimes easy to comprehend, but to enact it in one's life, that's another story. How many pleasures have been enjoyed by robbers, patricides, tyrants? Fair. That's true. I mean, I guess it's like the goody two-shoes in school doesn't have as much fun as the rebel chaos maker. Accustom thyself to attend carefully to what is said by another, and as much as it is possible, be in the speaker's mind. There comes the seek understanding thing again. It's not like this one means learn how to listen from more intricate of a position than just being in yourself listening to the words. Consider their perspective and where they're coming from. What is badness? It is that which thou hast often seen, And on the occasion of everything which happens, keep this in mind, that it is that which thou hast often seen. That rings true. Everywhere, up and down, thou wilt find the same things with which the old histories are filled, those of the Middle Ages and those of our own day, with which cities and houses are filled now. There is nothing new. All things are both familiar and short-lived. How can our principles become dead unless the impressions, thoughts, which correspond to them are extinguished? But it is in thy power continuously to fan these thoughts into a flame. I love that one. As in, you have to put effort into thinking of what you want to become. Think thoughts of what you want to embody. Think thoughts of the values you want to embody. Think thoughts of accomplishments you want to make reality. Maybe someone who doesn't do that very much is great at starting things but never finishing them. They let those thoughts extinguish. How many, after being celebrated by fame, have been given up to oblivion? And how many who have celebrated the fame of others have long been dead? Keeping up with the Kardashians. Another one. Direct thy attention to what is said. Nature, which governs the whole, will soon change all things thou seest. Alright. Yeah, I've got a ways to go. There are good ones in there, though. Contains good stuff. Thing is not great on the back. I'll tell you that much. Okay. This stuff is an everyday challenge of incredible magnitude. It is an incredible challenge to go against the grain, because I think that if I'm interpreting what I'm observing with any accuracy at all, it appears to me that a lot of the complaints that I observe, what is happening in the world? Why is shit so fucked up? Why are things falling apart? I think another way to interpret all of that is people are saying, I wish I had the courage to go against the grain. Or they're saying, I wish I had the courage to find out. I mean, I feel like it's almost just used as a filler. It's like this discourse is used as something to just fill the air, to fill the silence. It's like there's such this high level of discomfort in the air around us at all times. And And I think something crazy about it all is that with the power of your mind, you can really detach from it. And I think it's akin to the idea that you can celebrate life locked in a jail cell. If you really, really want to, you can do it. And I can't speak from experience, but it must be happening because people with life sentences in prison, they are alive. There are suicides that happen in jail. There are murders. But people find meaning wherever they can. So this is a silver lining of the kind of doomer atmosphere that we live in right now. Because, well, I may feel that I'm privy to it, and I may feel that I'm maybe more observant than a handful of people that I know. I still think that it's widespread. And I think that a blessing which I was bestowed with, which I will label addiction as a blessing that I was bestowed with, was a result of this, or a result of noticing this. I feel like there's been this inclination within me to run and to escape. And I guess that's the point, is that it was a blessing to me because it taught me that that's not the right way to handle it. The natural repercussions of addiction teach you that it's not right. It's not the answer. Addictive, compulsive behavior, in any sense, it's not the answer. And what tells me that it's not the answer is the consequences. You know, you can binge drink on a daily basis, or shoot heroin, or do whatever you want. Go on sex binges, jerk off to porn all day, every day. Any of these things will come with consequences, and it's just going to happen naturally. There's no getting around it. So the reason why this is a blessing is that it reminds me it redirects me. And it redirects me in a way such that I ask myself the question of why am I trying to escape? What am I running away from? What should I be doing instead? If I'm running away and it's not the correct thing to do, is perhaps the correct thing to do? Would the correct thing be to face what I'm running from? To face it? Or to even approach it? And I think that I could say, yes, that is the correct thing to do, is to face and approach what I'm scared of, and what makes me uncomfortable. And that's part of what I'm doing here. That's part of the reason why I read, is to learn, to absorb accounts of men and women that have lived before me, to see similarities and differences in their lives to mine. And this stuff weighs heavily on my mind on a daily basis. I'm very, very occupied right now, both in graduate school and an internship. And I feel like I should be putting in far more time. I should be putting far more time into writing and discovering, not so much discovering, but talking about what I have discovered and what I do discover and what I observe, talking about it, writing about it, sharing. Because at the end of my circle, I guess, of observation, it appears to me that there's no way out of the concern which I observe. There's no way out of it, but there is a way to live in appreciation through whatever happens. And I think that's where the real challenge lies. And I think that's something that seems to cause the sensation that it becomes more challenging with time is that, per what I observe, it seems that more and more people are more and more far gone as time goes on. And what I mean by this is they don't heed anything that I just read out of that book. They don't pay attention to what comes out of their mouth. They don't pay attention to what comes out of another person's mouth. They see it for the surface value. They don't see the symbols in anything. And their world, that's what I would say, that people, lots and lots and lots of people, are in a whirlwind, in a hurricane monsoon storm of distraction. To such an extent that I tell this to my friend all the time, but this stuff exists to such an extent that what I'm discussing is hidden in plain sight. It's pervasive and it's everything, to the extent that it's disorder and fragmented thinking and lack of critical thinking skills. All of this stuff is hidden in plain sight. It's like we're still able to operate. We're still able to operate on like this surface level to the extent that we feel like we're still in control, and to this extent that we feel like there's something wrong, but we can't put our finger on it. Hence the hidden in plain sight statement. It's crazy stuff. It's something that I want to get much deeper into. And I guess I'll begin with a series where I pick topics and I'll go into them. I think that one of the major topics that I want to speak of is sexuality, hypersexuality, pornography, anything in the realm of sexuality, because I'm coming to believe that certain practices and certain accepted norms of today's day are very, very, very underlying in the framework of dysfunction and our loss of relatability, our loss of communication skills, our loss of critical thinking. and our loss of ability to see what's going on. I see it in myself. I will say that anything that I share in these videos comes from some sense of experience through my own lens, whether it's observation of groups of people, observation of individuals, observation of myself, and relating to people. I put myself in groups of people who, I do this often, I put myself amongst groups of people who are open to admitting that they're struggling with whatever it may be. I've put myself in groups of people who are struggling with addictive sexual behavior, addictive drug use, compulsive behavior in relationships, so I can see a pattern and a theme. I work as an intern currently at an outpatient treatment center for people who struggle with addiction. And the conversations that we have in groups are incredibly eye-opening. And amongst the other people that I put myself around, it seems to me that pleasure and enjoyment are at the top of the list. Things are changing fast. And the paradox of it all is that we don't change as people. We all exhibit the same. We're all the same in the sense that we all exhibit the same displays of emotion and feeling, and we all operate off of a basis, off of a universal law. We're all bound to universal laws that we're born with. And of course, this is not to say that there aren't outliers, obviously, but from a majority standpoint, we all operate from the same code. And I think if there's anything I want to do in my life, if there's any sort of impact that I want to leave, it is that I want to challenge people to think differently. I want to challenge people in their beliefs. I want to cause people to challenge themselves, or to at least tease it out of them, or even the possibility. That's what I really want to do. That's the purpose of my writing. The purpose of my writing is to inspire processing. It's to inspire thinking differently. Even to the extent of how one understands certain words. Like, what does the word love mean to you? What does the word hope mean to you? Because this is kind of a spin on hope that I don't think many people would agree with, but personally I've seen in my life, I think that hope has taken this place as a word of kind of waiting for magic to happen with no work. Maybe like instead of asking someone how their day is going or was, you say, I hope you had a nice day. Or I hope that goes well for you. Or I hope that I have the strength to go to the gym 3 times a week. I think sometimes it really functions as a cop-out. It has for me. I'll compare it to motivation. I need motivation, not discipline. So I guess I've planted the seeds. So these are the things I want to get into. I want to get into the items of utmost importance as I see them. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you got something out of this today. I'm gonna get more of meditations done and plan the next topic of discussion. Be grateful, be loving, enjoy what you are given. We're all given this life. Appreciate and enjoy it. Love you all.